The latest headlines in the Ivy League, covered through exclusive interviews right now. From campus to campus, go around the Ancient Eight with Brian Seltzer. Thursdays on the Ivy League Digital Network. Football.
Opening things up this week in New England. Huge Ivy League football match between the Dartmouth Big Green and the Harvard Crimson. Dartmouth 4 straight wins. Harvard 10 wins in a row. The last two unbeaten teams in conference play. Arguably the most important football game for Dartmouth in about 2 decades. Eric Freed's going to provide regional coverage for the NBC Sports Network. Eric, what are you most looking forward to seeing this Saturday?
No snow. Can I start there? There's kind of a tricky weather forecast for the Upper Valley coming up late Saturday. So they've backed off the snow a little bit, but it's definitely going to be cold. It's going to be a huge departure from what these two teams have dealt with throughout this beautiful fall. So I think that kind of impacts what we're going to see on Saturday. You've got a quarterback in Dalen Williams, who we certainly expect to play. He can beat you with his legs. He can beat you with his arm. But that Harvard performance with Connor Hempel returning to the lineup and how he can really beat you in a variety of ways, that's going to be so fascinating to watch.
Eric, you mentioned some of the key offensive weapons for both Dartmouth and Harvard, but defensively, the Crimson number 2 in the nation in scoring defense, in Dartmouth, the only program in the Ivy League right now with a positive turnover ratio. What role do you think the defenses could have in what the ultimate outcome of this game is?
Harvard defensively, they really got off the map with the quarterback. Talked to Zach Hodges, of course. That's been the constant for Harvard. The defense isn't strong, and that's really been how Dartmouth has really made a lot of noise this year. And they've made some good plays on defense. I know we're all caught up in offense and the battle of the quarterbacks and expecting a shootout, but I think a lot's going to be determined by the defense, because that's really been truly a strength for these teams.
Regardless of the weather, should be an excellent, terrific, anticipated matchup between Harvard at Dartmouth, 3:30 this Saturday, Memorial Field. Eric Freed's going to announce regional coverage for the NBC Sports Network. Eric, thanks for the time.
I appreciate it.
Cross country.
Down to New Jersey, Princeton hosting the Ivy League Heptagonal Championships this Saturday on West Windsor Field. Jonathan Gault is a writer for Let'sRun.com. He actually ran for 4 years at Dartmouth, graduated there in 2013. John, what type of course will West Windsor present, and what are some of the challenges that runners could see there?
Well, to be honest, it's really not that tricky a course. When the Heps used to be held at Van Cortlandt Park, there'd be a lot of hills. It would be a more technical course. This one, there's a couple of bottlenecks. Apart from that, it's really not that complicated. I think it's sort of the kind of course that if the conditions are good, the best runners and the most fit runners are usually going to be winning on that day.
John, looking at some of the individual programs in the Ivy League for the women, Princeton right now moving into the top 25, Dartmouth right behind them at number 26. On the men's side, the Tigers, the only program receiving votes right now. What are you going to be keeping your eye on?
Princeton was the top team at the Wisconsin Invitational earlier this season. Dartmouth, they were right with them. But the men's side is actually very even. I think there's a bunch of schools who will enter thinking that they have a chance to win it on the right day. But the women's side, I think it's more clear-cut. It's going to be the Princeton or Dartmouth.
Great breakdown on what to expect this weekend at the Ivy League Heptagonal Championships at West Windsor Field in Princeton, New Jersey from John Gault. He used to run at Dartmouth. He's now a writer for Let'sRun.com. John, thanks so much.
No problem.
Volleyball.
Finishing up this week on the campus of Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut, the volleyball team is on a total tear, 6 consecutive match wins in dominant fashion. Claire Fitzpatrick is the color analyst for Yale All Access. Claire, what's allowed them to peak at the most pivotal point of the schedule?
The team is really gelling at the right point right now. The team lost a key player last year in Kendall Poland, their 3-time Ivy League MVP and team setter. But freshman Kelsey Crawford has really filled her shoes quite well so far.
The Yale Bulldogs, such a dominant force in the Ivy League, the last 3 titles outright and a share of 4 in a row at least. Erin Appelman, the head coach, what's allowed her, Claire, to establish such a sustained run of success in the league?
I really have a lot of respect for her coaching style and the way that she utilizes every player on her bench. And she runs a different offense from most other teams in the Ivy League. They have 2 setters on the floor at all times. And that's really the differentiating factor for the Bulldogs from other teams in the Ivy League.
Great info on Yale volleyball from Claire Fitzpatrick. You can hear her all season long on Yale All Access on the Ivy League Digital Network. Claire, enjoy the rest of the season.
Thank you.
That's all for this week's edition of Around the Ancient Eight. Talk to you next Thursday on the Ivy League Digital Network.
This has been Around the Ancient Eight, highlighting headlines from the Ivy League. Check out new episodes premiering Thursdays on the Ivy League Digital Network.